At first, Breckinridge will say no to this nomination. He doesn't want it. Everyone has assumed for the last 10 years or so that Breckinridge probably will one day be president. He's young, he's active, he's vigorous, he's good-looking, he's a wonderful speaker. He's everything people look for in a presidential candidate. But this wasn't the nomination he would have wanted. And so he will say no at first. But then he's persuaded to change his mind. He's persuaded, among others, by Jefferson Davis, who is not a fire eater. Davis is not an extremist Southern politician, contrary to widespread misconception then and now. But Davis will pose to Breckinridge the possibility that if he accepts that his nomination, that will send a message to Douglas that Douglas can't win when the Democratic Party is divided, and then Douglas and Breckinridge could both be persuaded to withdraw in favor of a compromise candidate who could meet both Southern and Northern desires. On that basis, Breckinridge agrees to accept the nomination. And if there's any question that this acceptance as a means of persuading Douglas wasn't the case, it's highly significant, I think, that when Breckinridge accepted the nomination, he accepted it in Washington at a house on New Jersey Avenue, just a few blocks from the Capitol. The usual sort of thing of the time happened. A band is hired probably out of the local saloons. A lot of supporters are also hired from the local saloons. And there's a little parade to Breckinridge's front door where he's given a serenade. He steps out on the front balcony or the front porch and accepts his nomination. He accepts this on the front steps of a house that was unfinished, that he had never lived in. That's probably the only time he was ever in that house other than to look at construction. He was living in a hotel. The house, in fact, would never be finished during the war when Breckinridge was a Confederate general. The house would be seized by the federal government, and in 1866, when it's finished, it becomes the home of U.S. Grant when he's general-in-chief of the Army. The reason the acceptance was held there is that Breckinridge's next-door neighbor was Stephen Douglas. This show of acclamation for Breckinridge was meant to show Douglas what he was going to be up against.